Good evening. How are you today? It's Friday. It's 70-something, although it doesn't feel that. It feels very comfortable. There's hardly any wind. There's no rain. There are plenty of clouds, and we had sun most of the day. So if you got out around where I am in Northern Virginia, you had a very pleasant day. Now let's talk about what's unpleasant. I often repeat the phrase that you can't win an argument you don't make. And there's another one that I haven't said that just came to my mind, which is what Winston Churchill said. He said, repeat your argument, repeat it again and again and again. And as a trial lawyer, you're often in a position before different judges and different proceedings, repeating in that case the same basic principles, sometimes in different ways to fit the context of how it's arising in that particular court. And politics is no different. If you're on the stump, you're saying it. If you're in a debate, you're saying it. If you're circulating material, you're saying it. And if you're not, you're losing. I think it was Lincoln who said that if someone makes an accusation, do not remain silent. And maybe you can't answer everything, but we all have in our minds when Kerry was swift-boated after he was nominated for president after the Democratic Convention in Boston, and I was there with a lot of other delegates. When August, if I remember correctly, they started running down his credentials as a war hero who'd been, singled out for his performance and so forth. And they just ran him down, and he didn't have funds, and it was a period when funds mattered. That is what you had and what you were able and legally permitted to spend. And he never recovered from that. You can't win the argument you don't make. So what does that got to do with the president's situation? There are, if my recollection serves me, 299 candidates for Congress and state offices who, well, I was going to say believe, but I don't know that they believe anything, say that the election was unfair in 2020. And here's the real kicker. Not only are we not answering some of these people, many of them are in, quote, safe Republican districts. So when they won the primary, they're on their way to serve either in Congress or the State House. And this is the wave of indecent lying and deception that we can expect from them when they are elected, and many of them will be elected. Now that underscores how important it is to see if we can hold on to the House and get the Senate, even if it's only by a couple of votes. That's how important it is. Now back where I am in Virginia, there's a race for the congressional district presently held by Wexton. She's a great candidate. She served part-time as a judge on the court. She was a prosecutor herself. She was a litigator. She's been a state senator, and she's been a congressperson. So she has the credentials that justify that the content of what she says is meaningful because it comes from experience and thought. Now she's running against the Republican right-winger whose name is Cao, and I'm sure that's the correct pronunciation because I heard him say it. His name is spelled C-A-O, and I believe he's from Vietnam, and he has a record as a vet. So that part's legitimate. The question is, does he have the experience or content on any of the issues? Does the position he take correspond to what the voters want when they're represented in Congress? So in the debate the other evening, you got a feeling that it was content versus cartoon, truth versus deception, complex versus simple, Wexton versus Cao. Now, the issues that came up are predictable ones. Inflation, which is a complex issue, some of which can't be controlled, given a war halfway around the world, given the COVID pandemic, given a lot of other things. And there are ways that we can manipulate the forces of the economy to the advantage or disadvantage of incumbent presidents and incumbent parties in the House or the Senate. So there's that. Also, the question of energy. Wexton understands that fossil fuels have limitations, serious ones, and she supports migrating to safer, better, more maintained means of producing energy for us. Of course, the question of choice, he's on the wrong side of that. And this is what we can expect to see across the spectrum of these 299 candidates. Now, some of those races are going to count because we can win those if the people react the way they did in Virginia several years ago, which is they saw extreme candidates in Virginia and they said, that's not us. Not that it's not just Virginia, it is that that's not us as Americans. That's not who we are. We do believe that the content of our debate matters, that the demeanor of our candidate matters, the credibility and presentation of those who would represent us in the greatest deliberative body. I'm never sure whether that's the General Assembly in Virginia, according to Virginians, or the Congress of the United States. And you can be sure that Parliament in merry old England does not appreciate this comparison, but that's the way it is. Finally, in the category of candidates who are troubling, and we could do a bunch of them, but Herschel Walker has managed to find a way right to the front of the line. He did not get an abortion or help a woman get an abortion, pay for it. And he doesn't know her. And it turns out that the woman that he doesn't know claims to have a child by him. And so there are only 3 little terrible letters that he has to deal with, in my opinion. DNA. Now, okay, give him the benefit of the doubt. Take the test and pass it. If he doesn't take it, the implication is he can't because he doesn't know who all his children are, or that he knows that this is his child. And I don't know if there are funds going back and forth, which would be legitimate to support the children that he fathered. And if he was my candidate and this had happened, and he could say truthfully, which is a lot to ask for any Republican candidate, I was young, I did it, and after that I had to come to Jesus meeting, and I wouldn't do that now. But he hasn't said that. And so we have a double problem here. We have a hypocrite, which implicitly is a category of lying, and we have a man who then can find no way back, no redemption, no description to tell us why he might have done it, or did do it, or changed his mind. And I understand all these things are weak in a campaign, but they're strong if you have character, and character should will out. The other aspect of this, which is very troubling, is that there are many Republicans who support him and don't care who he is or what he did. They only care that he will have this hateful agenda involving inflation, energy choice, etc. So, what do we have today? We have a mixed bag. But the thing we, the people, have to do, which our candidates may not always do, is we have to talk this up. We have to introduce the light into the room of darkness. We have to tell people that this is very serious, and it is. There is a thin membrane of political oozia, substance, that separates us from a democracy, and it's an autocracy. And if we lose that distinction and fail to build on it, we'll be wringing our hands, but we'll be suffering, because it won't just be conversation. It will be, we have lost this democracy, proving Franklin's caveat that we had to keep it because in history, democracies last and then they die. Is our democracy dying? It is if we do nothing. Is our democracy the only thing that stands between us and a traitor, Trump, with a second term, free to give a pass by pardons and other means to people who help him steal the White House? That's our challenge. And not all politicians who are Democrats get it. They think you can play safe. And you would think by now, after 5 or 6 years of this stuff, watching Trump and seeing how he does it, that they would learn that you have to get down in the gym and practice your rhetorical fisticuffs. And if you don't, you're going to lose. Maybe we need trash-talking New Yorkers to tell this bozo from Queens he never was welcome in Manhattan, he's not welcome in D.C., and he would be welcome, however, to wear an orange jumpsuit and sit in a pen somewhere. We have to cut off the head of the snake, and that's who he is. And if we fail to do that, we will fail the promise of America made in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So, here I am among the cathedral of trees, certain that they are going to help us find the strength, energy, and natural values to beat these bastards. Bye.